Welcome to House Talk, with videos that'll provide maintenance tips unique to Trilogy at Vistancia Homes. With your host, Doug Bowman. Today we're going to talk about smoke and carbon monoxide detectors, what's required by the local fire codes, where they need to be installed, issues and risks associated with some of these detectors, where we are on new and old battery styles, some good, better, and best recommendations, and we'll end up with some add-on options you can get. First, the obvious reason for having working detectors is that they save lives. Unfortunately, you can't accurately count the number of lives saved, unlike the number of lives lost. So when was the last time you tested your smoke detectors or carbon monoxide detector? If your answer is, I don't remember, they probably are inoperable. Even if you change out the backup battery annually, if the detector is past its expiration date, it's unreliable, no matter how many batteries you put in them. And these are words insurance companies love to hear because they have a history of denying claims because you or your renters didn't maintain the safety guidelines laid out by your insurance company, which typically includes things like having working smoke detector alarms, a fire extinguisher, and keeping flammable materials away from heat sources. So what is required? Now, luckily for Trilogy residents, our homes were all built and inspected with these devices installed. While each manufacturer can do things differently, here are some of the basics. First, you have to replace them when they expire. So how do you know? Some have a date when it was manufactured and when it expires on the back. Some will only have a manufacturer date and start chirping or beeping when they reach end of life. You can usually expect to get 10 years out of a smoke detector and 7 years out of a carbon monoxide detector. Next, you have to maintain the battery backup. Alarms are required to have an operable battery backup in case the house power is lost. This detector has had its backup battery replaced regularly, but the detector expired 8 years earlier and did not alarm when tested. Most detectors will alert you when the battery needs a replacement with a light or beeping. But with so many snowbirds gone for months at a time, a weak battery may go out completely before you return. If yours doesn't provide notification, you should replace them annually. The last requirement is that you periodically test the detector by pushing the test button. The City of Peoria recommends you do this monthly. Homes built after 1996 require smoke detectors to all alarm when any one device is actuated. Now let's talk about where you need to have them. The NFPA requires smoke detectors in every bedroom. You're also required to have one outside each bedroom, like in a hallway. Here, outside, one detector can cover several bedrooms. And because smoke rises, they should be mounted high and on the wall or ceiling. Carbon monoxide detectors need to be located outside bedrooms and on each level of the house, including basements and living spaces above garages. The height for a CO detector is determined by the unit's manufacturer, so see the instructions for that information. As you can see from this sketch, this 3-bedroom home requires 5 smoke detectors and 2 carbon monoxide detectors. Luckily, you can buy a combination smoke detector and CO detector in one unit to minimize the number of devices you install in your house. The technology we've talked about so far has been pretty established for many years, but that doesn't mean that it's not without issue. Backup batteries need to be replaced annually, which means every time you get up on a ladder, you're taking additional personal risks. And the smoke detectors you have installed may not detect certain types of fires. So let's talk about that a little bit because not all smoke detectors are created the same. The 2 types of detectors that have been in service for decades are ionization smoke detectors and now photoelectric detectors. I'm not going to go through the technology behind each one, other than to say that the ionization detector is good at detecting flaming fires that you can see, like a candle that ignites a curtain. The other, called photoelectric detector, is a better unit for smoldering fires, like when a lit cigarette falls into a couch cushion and the smoldering fire can fill a room with dangerous gases before a fire even starts. So do you know what type of fire is going to occur at your house? Me neither. In fact, Do you even know which one you have installed? Because they look identical unless you take them down and look. You can tell which is which because the ionization detectors will always have a small radioactive element inside. Just look for the radiation symbol on the back. Most of the detectors installed in Trilogy are these ionization detectors. So even though the fire codes are specific about where and how many smoke detectors you must have, they have left it up to you to decide what type of fire you should be protecting yourself from. Luckily, technology's come to the rescue and developed a dual sensor smoke detector that has both options in one device. The next topic deals with batteries. Houses built since the late 1990s require smoke detectors to have 120-volt wired detectors that have a battery backup, so anything in Trilogy would have been built that way. These wired detectors will communicate to each other, which allows all the detectors to go off if only one detector senses smoke. Battery backups since the 1900s have usually been 9-volt batteries. As I stated earlier, this required you to get up on a ladder and change the battery numerous times in the life of the detector. Now, to make life easier, introducing the 10-year battery. They go by all sorts of names: tamper-proof, long life, worry-free. It can seem confusing, so let's break it down. Today, you can get a wired 10-year smoke detector with a new 10-year backup battery instead of that 9-volt battery we've had. These are more expensive, but you'll never have to replace another battery or get up on that ladder until the smoke detector expires. The last style battery now being offered are full battery-operated smoke detectors, meaning the 120-volt power supply and the battery backup are both replaced by one 10-year battery that does it all. These detectors also talk to other similar battery-operated smoke detectors to make sure that they all alarm when a fire is detected. While these fully operated smoke detectors meet the intent of the code, they are not required by the code. Also, they're not easily interchangeable with a wired system, so if you want to go in this direction, it would be easier to just change them all and all at the same time. So let's discuss some of the good, better, and best configurations. First, if you haven't made any upgrades to your detectors, this probably is what you've got installed. It's a good setup, but if it's time to replace your detectors, there are some better and best options available. This setup has an old ionization detector wired to your house with a short-term 9-volt battery that requires lots of replacements over its life. The carbon monoxide detector is probably not wired or plugged into your house at all and is fed solely from a battery. These meet the code, but they could be better. A better smoke detector replacement option is still a wired detector with a short-term battery backup, but this option uses a dual sensor that has both the ionization and photoelectric detectors in one. The carbon monoxide improvement here is while it still has a short-term battery backup, you can plug it into a 120-volt outlet for redundancy. The best option is a wired smoke detector with dual sensor and a 10-year battery backup. The 10-year battery backup is also available for carbon monoxide detectors. You can finally put that latter away. And lastly, if you have an old house that's not been wired for smoke detectors or you have added on to your house, a full battery-operated 10-year smoke detector or smoke detector and carbon monoxide combo may be the best choice for you. Manufacturers of these devices may try to sell you some other options that are out there that we haven't talked about, like voice alerts or flashing lights or even Wi-Fi notifications if an alarm is activated. These are not code requirements and they're strictly optional. The only thing I've noticed is that they only come on the 120-volt wire devices because fully operated batteries with their new 10-year batteries just don't have the capacity to take on those additional functions. If you want to be notified and you have an Alexa or Echo device in your house, try using the Alexa Guard feature. Alexa Guard is a feature that can detect the sound of smoke alarms, carbon monoxide alarms, and even glass breaking when you set the guard function to the away mode. If one of these sounds is detected, Alexa will send smart alerts directly to your mobile phone. It's pretty cool, and it's free. Check this out. Alexa, I'm leaving.
All right, I'll start guarding now.
Within seconds, an alert notification is pushed to your mobile phone. And here's what you say to deactivate it. Alexa, I'm home.
All right, I'll stop guarding now.
Well, that's it for now. I hope this cleared up some of the confusion. Feel free to subscribe to my House Talk videos, and don't forget to hit the like button.